it was my concern about the way young people were growing up in a society which believed you could do as you like. And I was having to deal with the consequences of that in the school, because as a headmaster, I'd had girls who got pregnant in the 4th year at the age of 14. And if you ask them why, it wasn't that they were ignorant of sex, but they just wanted to know if they could do it. And of course, the boys were of the same opinion. The rise of the single-parent family was presenting tremendous problems. So that's why I got involved with the Family Education Trust, as it's now called, because they were saying exactly the same things.
In the early 70s, I'd not long left school. I was a journalist, trained on a local newspaper. I was very conscious of what family breakup was doing, disgusted, appalled at the rise in pornography. The responsible society was looking at more. Denigration of marriage, trends in sex education in schools and so on. I just really liked what it was doing, so joined. We produced a couple of reports on teenage magazines. This was before the internet, and teenage magazines for girls were a big part of their lives. And we produced a couple of leaflets, booklets. They got a lot of publicity. The first was called Entertainment or Exploitation, and then it was reprinted, updated, new approach with The Seductive Cell. We were saying, as young people, we find this material offensive, very much promoting casual sex, teenage use of the contraceptive pill, big time, lots of teenage contraception was pushed. The idea that it's normal to be sexually active and a bit worrying not to be, open acceptance of abortion. And we found this sickening, and we quoted examples of these magazines. And I remember it was quite funny, really, because in trying to say how gross some of this material was, we found we couldn't quote it in a respectable sort of family newspaper. So if it couldn't be in a big mainstream newspaper, why was it being pushed at the young?
I could actually see all the effects, in particular, of single parenthood. The breakdown of the family and single parenthood was the key issue in those days, back in the early 90s. And I could see it in my surgery. I could see the kids suffering because dads weren't there. My friends who were magistrates were telling me it was always the ones with absent fathers who were in trouble. And so I've sought a need to try and help change society for the better. And the Responsible Society, then Family and Youth Concern, and now the Family Education Trust was all part of that.
I think the biggest thing about Norman was just his tenacity. I had the privilege of attending meetings with him. We met with someone in the Department for Education. We met with the then head of Girl Guiding. And being able to watch him work was such a privilege. He just had that gentle mannerism about him that didn't ever rile anybody. But you just watch the penny drop, and then you'd watch people get really uncomfortable when they would see the policies that they'd signed off. And Norman's ability to play it forward, to see actually how this small change that you make here could bring this devastating damage in the future.
I would say that the influence that Norman had on me is very much where I am now is very much a result of Norman's influence. I've always been really grateful for the way that he encouraged me to take a stand. He always had the latest facts, the latest legislation, so that I was able to go into situations with MPs or county councils or wherever it was, with knowing that I had the facts and I could stand my ground.
I think Unprotected, the book written by Norman, is one of the most powerful pieces of our time. Just putting together those horrific reports. I think everybody that works with children and young people should read it, because I think our society's attitude to young people's sex education is incredibly damaging and really does leave our young people so vulnerable.
It was incredibly helpful to have Norman come with me from Family Education Trust because it showed the school that I meant business by having somebody else. I wasn't just going on my own. I was coming supported by an organisation, and I think that has weight. So it was really helpful being able to communicate with Family Education Trust and find a voice from them that mirrored yours and therefore enabled you to have greater confidence in continuing to challenge what was happening in this particular case, because you don't feel so isolated and alone. So it boosts you. I think it boosted me anyway.
Well, a friend of mine put me in touch with FET as an organisation who represent a different narrative to the popular narrative of the culture. So instead of anecdotal testimonials, they produce empirical resources that inform, challenge, and provide a different voice to modern gender ideology. So it's a sound voice for parents, educators and others who don't want to be swept along, engulfed, silenced by popular opinion. They provide a voice, and it's a voice that needs to be listened to. We will look back at this moment in history and wonder how we came to embrace these gender ideologies that leave lasting and irreversible damage to marriage and the family. The very fabric of society will have been blindsided. So someone needs to be brave enough to speak up and say that, and that's what the FET do.
if it wasn't for the Family Education Trust, I would have been lost and just a very anxious and worried parent. But because of the work Norman does and the trust, and also because of the support we received, we actually felt that we had a voice and we had a case, and we were not breaking the law, we were not doing anything illegal. I just have this deep sense of gratitude to Norman, who made the journey, who supported me, who was there when I was upset and crying and lost, and who actually, as I said, very respectfully towards the curriculum, informed us of where we stand, you know. He was kind of the neutral voice, and at the same time the voice that empowered us and gave us courage to stand our ground.